Hello everybody, Ben Woodruff here with another Falconry video. Today's video I'm going to be talking about passage, accipiters. But before we do, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to build it up and get good information out there. This is kind of an odd channel. I didn't start it as a Falconry channel. It was just my own private goofy videos, and I started getting some Falconry content out there. That's why I have such a terrible intro song, but now I feel like I'm kind of stuck with it. But I like making these videos. I like getting information out there and just connecting with the falconry community around the world. And the way the algorithms work on YouTube, it really does help if you hit subscribe for me to keep this channel up and running. So we're talking about passage accipiters today. And because of that, by discussing the merit of the passage accipiter, we have to kind of compare and contrast to imprints as well. But before we do, what are these words? Maybe you're new to falconry, you're just looking into it. Maybe you're a bird lover, but you're not familiar with a lot of the falconry vocabulary that sometimes differs from the vocabulary we use if you're just like a birder or a biologist. So let's get into a couple of these things first. An accipiter, if you're not familiar, is a true hawk. So there's birds we call hawks, like red-tailed hawks, but red-tailed hawks are actually bootios or buzzards. They're soaring hawks. They're not the true hawks. I live in the United States. We have 3 native accipiters here. The first and smallest is the sharp-shinned hawk, which is a very poorly named bird. It should be called the American sparrowhawk, as I've pointed out in a lot of other videos. These guys are little, they're tiny, they're delicate, but very aggressive, highly effective hunters. Then the middle-sized accipiter we have here, native, is the Cooper's hawk, which is one of my absolute favorite species to fly. Cooper's hawks in their adult plumage look very similar to the adult colors of a sharp-shinned hawk, but they're actually more closely related to the goshawk, the northern goshawk, which is our largest accipiter. Northern goshawks, all 3 of these birds have the brown streaked plumage and look very similar their first year, but as adults, the northern goshawk is a beautiful bluish slaty gray bird with gray barring on the chest. An absolutely gorgeous, powerful hunter. All accipiters are just the most athletic, the most dynamic, the most successful, the fastest, quickest, swiftest hunters on earth. They will hunt and hunt and hunt all day for you. There's all kinds of other accipiters around the world that are often used, you know, like the black sparrowhawk of Africa, and of course the famous shikra of India. That's one of the earliest raptors used in falconry and still loved to be used today. And so across the board, accipiters, very popular. However, accipiters also are among the hardest to train. And what I mean by that is to train in a way that is happy, healthy, and whole for the human and the bird. When it comes to aggression, weight management, vocalization, all of these things. Accipiters, no matter what age you train them from, are incredibly intense and require problem solving, troubleshooting, thinking, and so because of that, more than any other group, you know, if you're talking, falcons or bootios like red-tails, eagles, owls, all the rest of them, there's less focus usually in conversation about what age you got it at. But there is with accipiters, and the reason is there's certain problems and certain benefits that come with what age you pull from. So let's, in terms, imprint. An imprint is a bird, or any animal for that matter, where it's been taken at a young age, in the case, probably a little fluff ball. Whether that is from a captive breeding program or from the wild, it is imprinted on you. It is raised by you as its parent, so it thinks you are its parent. And then it grows up with an interesting psychology, thinking that either it is a human or that you are a bird and humans are birds. That is imprinting, okay? We'll get back to that in a second. A passage bird is a bird that has been raised by its parents. So it's eaten, it's learned to eat in the nest. Now the parent, it's full-sized. It doesn't have adult colors because it's not a full year old yet. Has its juvenile colors, but it is full-sized, full strength. The parents have ditched out and its siblings are gone. And it's like, and it's been living free away from any other bird. And it's a hunter. It's a survivor, and it's probably on its migration route heading south. That is a passage bird, okay? So, imprint, passage, which is better? Neither one is better. There's good and bad of both. my personal balance. If you go down my falconry playlist, look up when I discuss family birds, what a family bird actually means. That's in between. The family bird, when it comes to accipiters specifically, in my opinion, is the best balance between the good and bad of an imprint and the good and bad of a passage. Okay, so, but I don't want to go into family birds on this. I mostly just want to talk about passage birds, and I want to talk about how they compare and what's good about them. Why am I doing this video this time of year? This video is coming out in September, almost October. This is the time of year when many regions of the world in the Northern Hemisphere are seeing this influx of migrating passage birds come through. Regularly, I see passage Cooper's hawks in my yard passing through, and they'll fly over and land on the mews of my birds and chew them out. It's also a time you have to be careful. My friend John Griggs, who is often on the Falconry podcast with me when we run those podcasts, he is flying a sharp-shinned hawk that he raised as an imprint, and he multiple times has had wild passage Cooper's hawks dive in and almost kill his bird, and he's had to, get in the way. So this is a time of year where whether you're flying a bird and you have to watch for wild passage birds, or maybe you're going out to trap and you're trying to trap your first migrating passage bird. Could be either way. So that's why it's poignant this time of year to bring up the subject. So let's talk about these passage birds and passage accipiters specifically, and what's really good and what's really bad about them. So remember, if you've raised an imprint, you have raised them from a baby. You've had to teach them all these things. So think about what normally happens in a nest. You're raised by a bunch of other baby hawks. You have to learn to mantle over your food. You have to learn to be aggressive. Otherwise, your food's going to be stolen. All birds of prey, especially accipiters, have aggression within them. And I've said in other videos, and I'll say it again, I think it is wrong to eliminate aggression because it has to be there. You need to focus and direct it, point it at the healthy place that nature intended that aggression to be directed, which is towards prey. If you are raising a baby, an imprint, there's problems that come along the way. If you're raising a passage bird, it's very different. So let's jump into some of these. I keep getting sidetracked. It's called ADD. It's what happens. One of the first benefits to a passage accipiter deals with vocalization. When a bird is in the nest, and like I mentioned, it's sitting there with its siblings. One of the things they do when they start to get a little older and they're standing, and they wail, they cry, they meow, 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 and they make these obnoxious sounds to draw the attention of the parents. Hey, look, we're hungry, bring us food. But also, before they learn to fly fully, they will leave the nest in the day and hop out on a branch and get closer to where they expect mom or dad to come back with food. And they're like, meh, meh, meh. I make more noise. I might get the food before my younger sibling who's further back on a branch or still down in the nest. So being vocal is very beneficial for them for a few weeks. That's it. For a few weeks. It's horribly obnoxious. It's very beneficial to you if you're trying to find a nest because you just listen to the forest. So you can find it. But there you are not wanting that vocalization. It's something that happens in the wild. But most imprints will have some sort of vocalization because you are their parent and you never left. You never disappeared on them. Because what happens, think about an imprint. Sorry, not an imprint. Think about a wild bird in the nest. Mom and dad leave at some point. I'm wailing, expending some calories to do so, and mom and dad have left. They're never appearing. Oh. So not only is it not benefiting to me to make those calls, but I'm starting to get hungry because mom and dad don't exist in my life anymore. And when I do make those wails, those cries, it's also scaring away prey. I have to really quickly learn to be stealthy and quiet and silent and dodge in and out of the trees, and there's prey, go and grab it. Okay, and wailing does not help that. Imprints don't learn that lesson. They don't know that. And there are techniques to try to help them not be vocal, but almost all imprints this first year will have some vocalization. So this is a benefit of a passage bird. A passage accipiter has already learned you don't want to be vocal. It's not good. That's great for you. They've learned that lesson. Wonderful. You trap a passage, Cooper's hawk, and they're just like, I'm going to be quiet. I don't want to be loud. That's wonderful. The next thing that I find a benefit with passage accipiters deals with aggression. Okay. Now remember I said with imprints, that aggression, you're not getting rid of it. You have to direct it. And it's the same principle. You, the parent, have never left. At the tail end, right as a baby in the wild is starting to learn how to fly, the young become so aggressive that parents no longer bring food to the nest. Because if they do, the babies will attack them. And so because they're supposed to be attacking prey, and so they're like, so mom and dad instead will hamper prey. They'll catch a bird, injure it, but not kill it, and they'll fly near the nest, meh, meh, meh. They'll call back, meh, meh, and the babies will start to fly out. They will drop this injured bird, and the babies will grab it and go to the ground, and the parents fly off and don't get attacked. You do that for another week or two in the wild, and then you ditch out, and they've learned, hey, I have to. So the parents intentionally train their young to have their aggression exist, but be directed and focused towards the image of prey. And again, this is not a video about how to properly train an imprint to do that, but it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of thought and troubleshooting. A passage bird has already learned that their aggression is directed at prey. Otherwise, they'd be dead. If it wasn't, those few weeks or few months after they left the nest before you acquired them, they would have died. And so they understand the principle of they've never encountered a human up close. You start to train them, you do it right. Aggression is a much smaller issue. Let me rephrase that. Properly directing, channeling, and focusing aggression on the right iconography and image is much easier with a passage bird than with an imprint. It can be done both ways, but it's already 70% done with a passage. And if you train them right, it's easy. It's very nice. One of the other good things is the flight experience and the musculature. Okay, when you are raising an imprint in your house, they have the easy life. They have a guaranteed meal. They never know hunger, and you're teaching them how to fly. But it's the fluffy, easy way, the accommodating, enabling parent that you are. Nature is harsh. Any bird that is a passage bird has survived. It has survived the weeks or months since its parents ditched it, and it has, in doing so, developed muscle mass. It has exercised and moved all those muscles. It has learned the nuances of flight, of gliding, of landing without crashing, of tackling prey, and of maneuvering with extreme agility at a highly fast rate. It has done all that on its own and lived to tell the tale. So you are the beneficiary of its parents training it and it itself learning through the school of nature. That's really nice to have that already there for you. Just like, hey, you have experience. So really with a passage, what is your overarching principle? I am building trust. That's the main thing you're doing. What does a passage bird do in the wild every day? It hunts. It flies and it hunts. What are you training it to do? Are you training it to hunt? No, you're training it to trust you and let you enter a world that already exists for this passage bird. With an imprint, you're not doing that. An imprint, hey, you're going to fly. What's flying? Okay, we're going to teach how to hunt, but you could just hand me food. Okay, don't attack my face, but I like to attack your face. That's what you're dealing with an imprint. And so that's a definite thing to consider as well. But that's one thing I love, is they pass any passage bird, but especially accipiters, they know what they're doing. They know how to fly. They know how to hunt. And so you're just building that trust and finding a way to mesh yourself into its already existing program, its already existing life. And that's great. So one of the things that's bad is carrying. Usually a properly trained imprint is less prone to carry food. It's like, okay, you've been in my life from day one. When I have prey, I have food, you're there. I don't need to fly off with it. When you have a passage bird, everyone and everything is trying to kill that bird and take its food from it in the wild. So you come into the fray, it catches prey, which is normal and easy for it. You walk up to it, it's like, this monkey man's trying to take my food. Okay, However, even though you're going to have a little bit more issues usually with carrying with a passage bird than with an imprint, it is fairly easy to train them. If you go back in my videos, look on my falconry playlist, and there's a video called Stomp and Spiral, I believe is what it's called, and it is anti-carrying training. Works for all raptors. All raptors. Do that with your passage accipiter, and you can very easily train them to not carry prey. It works very well. So all this list of things that I've said make passage accipiters sound pretty darn good. They're better when it comes to vocalization. They're generally better when it comes to aggression if they're trained right. They have flight experience, agility, hunting experience, musculature. They're more prone to carry, but it's pretty easy to overcome that. So why on earth does anybody ever fly an imprint accipiter, you might ask? Well, there's lots of reasons, but for me, here's the main reason: guaranteed availability. Okay, if I go to find a nest, I find a goshawk nest, Cooper's hawk nest, sharp-shinned hawk nest, or if I go to a breeder, a goshawk breeder, and say, hey, I would like to purchase a captive bred goshawk from you, I have a guarantee. I know where that nest is. I can guarantee it. Why does that matter? Because it can be very difficult to find a passage accipiter. They're all over the place in their range. Any accipiter, they're prolific, but they're sneaky, they're hidden, they're shy, they're in the trees waiting to dash out and catch something and come back and hide again. And so usually when I'm looking for passage accipiters, I do not find them. I always find them when I'm out looking for something else. I'm out looking to trap Merlin falcons, and then, Cooper's hawk appeared. Right? Now, there are those who do ridgetop trapping. That works really well, and that is a good way to, if you know a good trapping route, that's a good way to have a better luck with trapping a passage accipiter. For me, myself, check out my book, Trapping Essentials. You can go to Western Sporting Publications and get it. The trap I like to use is the compartment trap that I have in my book. It's an improvement. It's kind of like a Swedish goshawk trap, but better. I just have one set up in my yard if I'm trying to trap a passage accipiter. I have year-round, I feed, sparrows and starlings and stuff like that. And so I have a compartment trap in my yard in the fall and winter if I want to trap a passage accipiter. And I'll usually have one come through my yard and it gets caught. So you can just have them come to you. But it isn't a guarantee. You're not guaranteed to... there are no guarantees of life. I get that, but I'm saying if you are... figuring out a nest or a captive breeder, you basically have a guarantee of the bird you want. If you're like, hey, I'm buying a capture permit and just hoping I come across a passage goshawk at the right time and right place, you might get skunked. You might not end up having a bird for that season. And so that is one of the primary reasons why people get imprint accipiters. So with that thought, here of our native accipiters, here is my personal preferences. When it comes to sharp-shinned hawks, I prefer to fly an imprint. I find that the problems with imprints I've listed are incredibly easy to overcome with a sharp shin. And also, if I was going to do an imprint sharp shin, a passage sharp-shinned hawk, I don't like trapping them any later than September. Mid-September after that, they seem so spastic, most of them don't settle down well. When it comes to a Cooper's hawk, which is the middle-sized accipiter, I would prefer a family bird, most ideally, first and foremost, which, again, go back in my videos and see on what a family bird is. If I can't get a family bird, my second choice would be a September or an October Cooper's hawk, trapped from the wild as a passage, and my last resort would be to fly an imprint Cooper's hawk, although by far the greatest number of Cooper's hawks I've flown have almost all been imprints, but I prefer a family bird, and next a passage, and last an imprint. When it comes to northern goshawks, hands down my preference is a passage bird. Most of my goshawks have been imprints or captive bred imprints. But I definitely, if you just said, hey, you want a goshawk, you can have any goshawk scenario. What do you want? Passage. They train very quickly. They are more forgiving than Cooper's hawks or sharp-shinned hawks in so many areas, and they know how to hunt, and they're just a joy. Again, you just go through your normal training processes, build that trust. They're quick to train, quick to forgive, and you're out hunting with them very swiftly from the time of acquiring them to actually getting back out in the field and letting them do what they were doing in the wild just a week or two earlier. And so that would be my personal thoughts on my personal preferences. But of course, you do whatever you want to do when it comes to falconry. But most areas, including mine, we have an apprenticeship program where you have a mentor, a sponsor who helps you kind of go up the ranks and know what you're doing. Even if you have that, again, I will always say this, if you are going to fly an accipiter specifically, no matter what the kind, please find and make friends with somebody who has or is currently flying that same species. You will have so much more success, not only having a sponsor, but somebody who can be like, hey, look, we're going to troubleshoot ideas, the little details, because accipiters require so much thought in order to have a proper and successful experience, that sometimes you might be making a mistake and it's right in front of you and you can't see it. And if you have another person with accipiter experience, you can bounce those ideas off and they can help. You can help each other, help see each other. And that's what I do. I have many friends that that's how we fly our accipiters, and we always have the best experience when we're bouncing ideas with other people who are also doing it as well. So highly recommend that no matter what accipiter you fly. But no matter what bird you choose to fly, just remember patience, respect, build that trust with them, acclimate them, socialize them, and you'll have a wonderful experience. So I hope this video was of use to you. I hope you learned a couple things and a couple thoughts. Let me know any other questions you have down below and what other videos you would like to see in the coming months. If you haven't already, again, please hit subscribe. It really does help me get this channel up and going. And as always, happy hawking.